Next up, we have a keynote on cybersecurity and data protection for smart cities. And I would like to welcome on stage Mr. Shaju Bhaskaran, who is Information Security Officer with TASMU Smart Qatar.
Either presentation or just presentation. Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. Myself Shaju Bhaskaran, I'm ISO for TASMU Smart Program, which is a part of Qatar 2030 vision. So basically we are the data aggregator platform for any kind of smart initiatives in Qatar. So today we are going to discuss cybersecurity for smart cities. So the agenda would be the introduction to smart cities, components of a smart city, the technology involved, and primarily the cybersecurity issues related to a smart city. So just to begin with, what is a smart city ecosystem? There are many definitions to a smart city. The very basic one would be, it's a city basically to help inhabitants live in a smarter way, to help improve their lives. That would be the basic definition of smart cities, right? But as we are all here are concerned more about cybersecurity as a subject, and we are all technology people and cybersecurity, so this is what I thought of as a smart city for us, to break it down into a very simpler, understandable way of looking at it from an IT perspective. So I believe there are three major components of a smart city ecosystem. First would be the core, which is primarily the cloud platform. Today we cannot envisage a smart city without a cloud platform. The communication layer, which can be anything, a local communication like Bluetooth, NFC, or your internet, or any kind of connectivity that you have towards the backend, which is the core. One of the most important out of three would be the edge. These are the sensors, actuators, smartphones, IoTs that we see. So according to me, the primary aspect of a smart city would be collecting some data using an IoT, bringing that data to the cloud, using the technologies that are available today in cloud and big data, using that our artificial intelligence and inbuilt strengths of a different kind of cloud service providers, making a sense of that data and making a business sense of that data rather. So as I said, the components of a smart city, to put it simply, would be this. This is my way of looking at smart city. This is, as I said, the cloud computing services, IoT, sensors, smart computing devices, and the communication channel. What are the technologies involved in this? Again, every slide looks very similar, but it has a different purpose, different way of looking at it. Technologies involved, smartphones. Smartphones, without smartphones today, we cannot even think of a smart city. Any services that you take on a smart city, for example, booking a parking using a smart parking application, doing anything on a smart city like booking a consultation with your doctor, any of the use cases that you can think of for a smart city, most of them are linked to smartphones. The second is the cloud, which manages and intelligently make decisions based on the algorithms. IoT devices, which we talked about, IoT devices are the most important part. The sensors which can see data, collect data, and send it to the backend cloud. And the biggest role would be the big data and the technologies available behind big data, and the algorithms and the scientists working towards day-to-day improvement of these algorithms for the different use cases that we see in a day-to-day life. But when it comes to cybersecurity, I become a little more confident because this is my subject. The cybersecurity, when it comes to cybersecurity, the good part is First, I would want to highlight the good part of cybersecurity strategy of maintaining cybersecurity within a smart city. That the defenses that we use from years for our traditional environments in a corporate, that remains very similar to those. So we build a risk-based cybersecurity approach. We define ICT security baseline. We share and coordinate threat and vulnerability information. We built our incident response capabilities. And last but not the least, the public, private, and academic cooperation. As I said, the good part is that we still have the knowledge, the tools to manage cybersecurity in a smart city environment. The problem that we face is basically the openness of smart cities. When you have an environment which is already cloud-based, like in the previous panel discussion, we heard about the vulnerabilities of cloud. On top of that, the sensors that we use, the capacity of those sensors to build security into those sensors, to those IoT devices, is a big challenge. Today, if you are from cybersecurity, you would know the biggest area of cybersecurity concern is endpoint, right? So endpoint security is the one which is growing, which is the most effective, one of the most effective way of controlling cybersecurity. So when it comes to smart city, the IoT or the smart sensor becomes your endpoint. So controlling that is a challenge, because do we have policies across across different cities to control, to manage different entities within the city? Do we have a policy for that? Many of the cities lack that today. Do we have enough capacity? Do we have enough tools available within IoT? Do we have enough talent, workforce, security workforce available with these use case providers to build security around this IoT and smart sensors? When I say minimum ICT security baseline, this is basically the one thing which is working with IoT. So IoT or any smart sensor should be controlled with some sort of a security baseline to begin with. So the attacks that we see today, starting from the old attacks in banks using the POS machines, from today's smart IoTs, we see attackers utilizing the endpoint to get into the smart network, to the cloud network at the back end. Threat and vulnerability information. This is very important. Why? Because the technologies, the different platforms, the different tools that you use in a smart city can be varied across. So it can be spread across multiple different kind of technologies. So to collate all that information, to make it available at the right time, and have some mechanisms to make sure that these controls are effective prior to any sort of a cyber attack is a challenge. So the information availability is very important. Incident response, the favorite of cybersecurity people. The incident response capabilities is something that we have, I would say, is one of the things that we have in most of the cities today. If not, then we have these services available from CERT, from different organizations, different countries, different cities like US CERT. We need to engage private sector, national resources, enable consistent incident classification, etc. But what I would say, the SOC, the intelligence of SOC today can help us identify cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities much before it can happen. So, like smart city itself, as I said, is a deliverable out of the artificial intelligence and machine learning component of the IT world, correct? So we need to make our SOC, which we call MDR or new generation SOC, to make it enable to use artificial intelligence, to use RPA, to use automation technologies to make sure that the enormous amount of data that we receive from all these components at the back end and the front end, we are able to visualize that, we are able to make sense of that, we are able to see a threat coming out of the logs. Enable private, public, and academic. This is cooperation. This is important because we are going to touch every part of the society, whether it's a university, whether it's a medical corporation, whether it's a waste management, whether it's something like a Karama, whether it's whatever it is, right? There are so many different departments, so many different ministries, so many universities. So this is very important that this awareness is developed at different levels. So we need to take advantage from there, from private sector resources, partner with universities, etc. So I just wanted to go again and put a slide and think from a technical perspective, what are the elements of when you see a smart city, how do you see what are the 5 components which are the most critical, right? So when you look at smart city, as I explained, the edge part, the core, and the communication channel, digital trust platform. This means that we need to have some sort of encryption built in. We need to have some sort of a validated certificate arrangement that, for example, a nation, a city can have, by which we can easily enable those digital trust between these entities. I think that would be the first and the foremost thing to be done. Second is the cyber threat intelligence and analysis platform, which we discussed just before, the traditionally called, we can call it SOC. So the SOC or the MDR should be catching up with the smart city technology by enhancing the capabilities of cloud-provided SOC, which again enhances the capabilities of artificial intelligence, machine learning, RPA. Why it's required? It's required because the volume of data that you see, you need much more innovative technologies to see the actual threat out of all the garbage that you receive. Cyber response and resilience, which can be the incident response and resilience. What you do when you see an attack. So do we have the necessary legal framework, etc. available for this? More than that, cyber response, do we have someone who can take up the attack as and when it happens and start working and resolving that? So like we think for a corporate, we have to start thinking for a city. Privacy by design, nobody can leave privacy. So privacy by design, why it's important? Because the data that we are collecting, for example, if you are, very simple example, if you are collecting some data from a camera, from a CCTV, from a traffic control system, and you can see the details, many details that as a person, as a citizen, you might not want to share. This is just a simple example, there can be many. So the data that goes into the cloud, that goes into either of these cloud, which is managed by 1 or 2 vendors or 3 vendors, right? So we need to be very careful about privacy by design. What it means is some of the countries have come up with a concept of privacy, which needs to be thought through before you develop anything, right? Leave apart smart city. So we need to, before you develop an application, before you develop any sort of IT component, you need to make sure that privacy is inbuilt into it. So it's a prerequisite, right? So anything that you do for a smart city, the first, one of the most important aspects is privacy, to make sure the citizens' trust is gained through this. Because not to forget that smart city is a direct interaction with citizens. So the buy-in of citizens is the most important. Cyber competencies and awareness programs, which would help different ministries, different government bodies, different universities, different medical houses to come together, listen to the different use cases that technology solutions can provide, and work with us, work with the backend data aggregator platform, like in our case, which is TASMU, work with these smart city components, entities, and make sure that this is enabled and used in many ways to enhance the citizen day-to-day life experience. I think I want to end with saying that this is, the easiest puzzle is to answer, do we need a smart city, do we need a smart nation, right? We all know we need it because of the physical world limitations. we have today. But by doing smart city, by making sure that many cities in the world have done this already, so we just need to go see how that is done and replicate that. But as a cybersecurity professionals, we need to be very careful of the fact that without cybersecurity, it can be a doom scenario. So we need to make sure that cybersecurity policies to begin with and the rest of things that we discussed are in place before we move ahead for a smart city and a smart nation concept. Thank you, everyone. I hope you had a little bit of knowledge after this session. However, smart city by itself and the cybersecurity around smart city by itself is a very big subject. I tried to touch upon the periphery of it. So hope you had some useful information out of it. Thank you for hearing me patiently. Thank you.